What's up, YouTube? It's Lions Fan Express coming at you with that man-to-man press. And in today's video, I'm going to do a recap of this Reese's Senior Bowl. I watched the game yesterday, and I kind of broke down the film and highlighted. I wanted to highlight some things and also give you guys three players that really stood out and helped their draft stock, and then three players that hurt their draft stock based on the way they played in that game. So with that being said, let's dive on in. So the Reese's Senior Bowl was in Mobile, Alabama, in Saturday, and they had a bunch of practices leading up to it with the American team and the national team. Now, these are all college football players that are seniors or redshirt juniors or whatever case that they've been invited to the game to participate. A lot of these guys are going to be drafted. Really, a lot of good talent down there. So it was really cool to watch and evaluate the team and the players and how well they performed. It was almost kind of like a extra bowl game, really. But so some things that really kind of stood out to me was that both teams, they did some good things, they did some bad things. One thing that really kind of stood out to me was that the national team and the American team were both really good at running the ball. I felt like the offensive lines for both teams kind of controlled the trenches and were able to get push on the defensive line when it came to running the ball, and that allowed the running backs to get yards and really have success on the ground game on both sides of the ball. So that was something that I noticed. One thing I noticed too was the special teams was kind of hit and miss. The kickers is in particular, I think one of the kickers for the national team was like 4 for 5, but his one miss was like a really bad hook to the left. And then for the American team, the kicker literally missed it wide left, and he was like only 30 yards away. So that was a really bad look on him as well. And then I think even a punter ended up shanking a punt too that only went for about 30 yards. So not a great day for special teams. But ultimately, one thing too that kind of stood out to me was just the quarterback play. For the most part, it wasn't very good. I know that these guys were, obviously they all played in like different systems and with different players, and it takes time for quarterbacks to get used to the rhythm and new receivers and get a feel for the offensive line and stuff like that. But for the most part, the quarterbacks did not look NFL ready. They were missing throws, throwing into coverage. It wasn't good. And I truly believe that there's not a single first round quarterback that played at this bowl game. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to be drafted a little bit later and develop and so you can become a better quarterback. But overall, wasn't impressed with the quarterback play, which in turn really made it hard to evaluate the receivers because if they're not getting the ball where they need, so they can catch it and go, it really makes it hard to evaluate them as playmakers because if they can't get the ball, then what are they supposed to do? So, but still, a few did stand out. One was Wilson from Stanford. He really stood out because he was able to, have several catches, I believe like 7 catches, and he also had a long touchdown catch, and he also hit 18 miles per hour on the next gen stats and was able to stop like right on a dime and adjust to come back for the ball because it was underthrown. So that was really exciting to see that. So shout out to Michael Wilson from Stanford. And then here's a 2-for-1. I had 2 tight ends listed here as that helped the draft stock. It was tight end Oregon State's Luke Musgrave and Purdue's Payne Durham. Both of them showed that they could be valuable blocking, but also catching the ball as well. They secured a couple catches and were just really vital in getting the run game going as well with their blocking skills. So I was really impressed with that. And then running back from Northwestern, Evan Hall, he had 10 rushes for 74 yards, and he also added 11 yards receptions for a total of 85 all-purpose yards. So he really showed out. Like a lot of the backs, he was just grinding up yards and getting first downs and keeping the clock moving. So he really did a good job. Unfortunately, there was a handful of guys that didn't do so well, specifically at the quarterback position that I wanted to highlight. Even though it kind of pains me to say it because I really like him as a player and as a person. Quarterback from TCU, Max Duggan, he really struggled this game. He had a fumble that costed them a turnover, and he was also sacked multiple times for holding on to the ball too long, and he just looked uncomfortable. He was scrambling around a lot and not looking, for the open receiver, and I don't know what it was, but he just looked rattled. He didn't look comfortable, and he just only threw for 4 for 9 and 26 yards, which is really hard to evaluate that. Definitely not a good showing from Max Duggan, but still have some hope in him that he'll be able to bounce back from that. Also on this list, Malik Cunningham, the Louisville quarterback. A lot of people are comparing him to Lamar Jackson because obviously they both went to Louisville. They have very similar playing styles. And while Malik Cunningham for the most of the game was actually really impressing me with his legs, but he also was being able to stand in the pocket and deliver some throws. But the one throw that he threw into coverage across his body towards the sideline, which is terrible. It ended up leading to not only an interception, but they took it back for a touchdown. Really bad look on him, really bad pass. Overall, he played well, but that was just a really bad mark on his overall performance of the day. And then also the running back, Cameron Peoples, he had a 15-yard run. So that was his only rush of the day. So even though he did average 15 yards a carry, he only had one carry. So, but really what got to me was he had not only one, but two straight drops as a receiver. So he was dropping balls left and right. And then when he did catch the ball, he had like -2 receiving yards. So really kind of a bad performance on his part. Didn't make the most of his opportunities, but, like I said, he has some chances going into the combine and going into his pro days that I'm sure that he'll bounce back for sure. But overall, it was a good experience just watching the game. Obviously, it was, wasn't the best football in the world because, it's hard to, put two teams together and only train for a week and, come out and just dominate and not really when there's a game plan, but it's just for the scouts and the teams and the GMs and the coaches to evaluate the talent that's there at the Senior Bowl and being able to just get a good look at them after the season and before the combine. So, I really enjoyed it. I think that it's just another checklist off of the off season, and of course now a lot of people are going to be turning their attentions to free agency, but then also even after that, it's going to be the NFL Combine, and then you got pro days that really help usually boost the stock of the players. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But, yeah, I really enjoyed watching that, and those are kind of my takeaways. If you guys have any questions about any players in particular about the Senior Bowl or just in general, feel free to, leave that down below, like and subscribe. And as always, go Lions.